All right, what's up, everybody? So again, my name is Andrew. Go by Out of the Blocks on Melee and Discord and YouTube and everything. So next video for the Ruby Amethyst deep dive. This is going to cover my matches 11 through 20, and with 20 matches in the books, we're also going to do some kind of first changes to the deck list and kind of see where we go from there. So I'm going to just really kind of touch on what these last 10 matches were like, and then we'll kind of roll through here. So matches 11 through 20, I went 4-6. So really not great record, but this was kind of a tale of two sessions, honestly, because I tend to play like 5 matches at a time. That kind of works out well for me time wise, and also I don't like to overdo it. I want to make sure I take breaks. My matches 11 through 15 went 4-1. Things were going great. At that point, I was basically 11-4 through my first 15 matches with the deck, so things were great. 16 through 20, I went 0-5, which is totally insane. It was kind of a bad beat horror story. Just like terrible luck game after game, but I'm not going to sit here and like tell you I got unlucky 5 matches in a row. It's like sometimes you're going to have streaks like that where the luck does not go your way. Sometimes you're going to make mistakes. I fully admit all that's going to take place. So, as much as it sucks to go 0-5 and to want to blame it on, oh, my opponent got so lucky, or oh, I bricked, blah, blah, blah. That's true, and that's just going to happen. So, yeah, it might feel unlucky, but I just have to accept that streaks like this are going to happen from time to time. It's not an indictment of me as a player. It's not an indictment of the deck entirely. But again, as always, the point is, okay, what can I learn from this? What happened? What can I do differently? What really is going on during these games where I feel like I'm getting unlucky? So anyways, we're gonna kind of go through these matches. I got some notes here on my other monitor. So just real quick, so Steel Song, Amber Steel Aggro, so a couple of Amber Steel matchups. Played a Green Steel, 3 Ruby Sapphires, a couple Ruby Amethysts, and a couple Purple Steels. I'm just going to kind of quickly go through these because again, like 11 through 15 was 4-1, so those were like great games. But match 11 was against Ruby Sapphire. This was basically a match of game 1 I had Flynn, game 3 I had Flynn. Those games I won. Game 2 I didn't have Flynn and did not win. Granted, there's plenty of other nuance that goes into all those matches. They were really close matches, but those Flynn triggers really made the difference. Match 12 was a win. This was against Ruby Amethyst that was playing a little bit of Shark, which is kind of an interesting inclusion. That was popular out of the gates with Azure at Sea. You haven't seen it a lot lately, but this was just a fundamental game where, they were relatively close, but I played well and got the win 2-0. Not really much to take from there. Match 13 was against Amber Steel Aggro. This was a 2-0 win for me. This was, kind of again a showcase for Crab and Fox and just all that early interaction. That was really really helpful. Again, definitely close games, but these are like the fine lines I'm trying to learn. Is like, games can be close, but if you can play properly on every turn, you can really kind of shut the door sometimes. But yeah, crazy games there. Match 14 was against a Purple Steel aggro deck where I lost. I could definitely tell this was a quality player. They knew what they were doing. They played very well. They did get some top decks at the right time. I got a little bit of ink screwed on a game, so there's some unlucky things there. But again, I'm not going to sit here and blame everything on luck. The game 1, I lost, and this was like due to a bad brick situation. So basically, what happened was this was like game 1. I'm in the blind. I don't know what I'm playing against. They went like they were on the play, and they went like Broom into Chernobog, and I'm like, okay. And I had a hand of like Chernobog, Snake, Fox, and stuff, and whatever. And I ink play Chernobog on their next turn. Again, I don't know what they're playing yet. They ink, they fire the cannons my Chernobog, and play a Maleficent. And I'm like, okay, so it's Purple Steel aggro. But what that did was I couldn't play my Snake. My only turn 3 play was a Fox that I couldn't play. And I basically couldn't play on turn 2 and turn 3 and bricked. And that was enough. Like, they were able to kind of spam the board with their characters and overrun. And that was that. So we can call that bad luck. But it's also just like I need to learn that I can't put myself in a vulnerable position where if I have a single 1-drop and then I only have Snake and Fox, like I am at risk. So I don't know what to do differently there. It's like that was the way that the hand altar shook out. So that's just going to happen. But it was an interesting lesson for me to learn though. Still, game 2 I was on the play. A very close game again, but I have multiple one drops, and I was able to kind of stabilize in the early parts of the game. Game three, they kind of had a nutty hand. I was able to stabilize at 19 and was catching up and catching up. And it was one of those games that just came down to, okay, they got to go at the right time, and they won. So tough match. Match 15 was a win against Purple Steel Aggro. Also, a little bit of a different style list. They were playing the Dwarven Mine version, but I only saw that like in one game. Not too tough. It went 3 games. But I think first game I got like a shipped Sisu that worked really well. Next game, I might have been able to win. It was very close in that game. I'd have to go back and review it. I need to maybe start videoing some of these games. And then game three, I have just like a good early character gameplay, and I'm able to win just fine. So again, not much to learn from there. Other than that, my early interaction and early characters make a huge difference in these aggro matches. Okay, now let's get into the horrible streak. So match 16 against Ruby Sapphire, lost in 3 games. Really tough matches. This was like very close. This player was definitely talented as well. They played very well. I got the win on the play game 1. I got 2 triggers off of Flynn, which was huge. I did brick on getting an 8th ink when I had like Big Sisu and Big Elsa in my hand, which was tough. But yeah, I ended up forcing them into a position where they be prepped, and I had a response, and then I was just able to get there. Game 2, I had no one drop, and they had pop into Tipo into how far I'll go into Shark turn 4. Didn't have an answer to Shark, and that was pretty much that. Game 3, I was on the play. I had one drop in Flynn, no Sisu, but I did have a crab. I got 1 trigger off the Flynn, I think, and then it got Ice Block and Little Sisu'd. So yeah, I got 1 trigger off of it. There was a point where I had 2 B preps and a Tremaine in my hand on turn 4, and I just had like nothing to do. I ended up having to ink a Brawl just to be able to ink for the turn. I drew a big Elsa. Got really bad luck with uninkables in that game. And again, that's just part of how the games go. But like this game, I really felt like my hand getting glutted with uninkables and not being able to play what I wanted because I had to ink things that I should have been able to play and so forth. So. But this game I remember went down to like, we both had like almost no cards in hand, and we were very close at parity. They ended up top decking a Hiram with an item on board, drew 2 cards, and that was kind of that. I ended up being able to play a big Elsa and like lock something down, but I didn't draw it well, and they did. And that's going to happen against Ruby Sapphire. They top deck better than you most likely. So match 17, this was a loss in 3 games against Amber Steel Songs. Let me see. First game, they're on the play, and they just have the nuts. Nothing I can do here. They go Cindy into Ursula into Ariel into. I think they top deck a wheel because they didn't play a wheel when they could have when they were out of cards, but they got one like the next turn. I did the whole like didn't play a turn 1 one drop, did double 1 drop on turn 2, and they hit both with singing a Zeus and a strength or something, but they were able to blow up both. So that was just a crazy nutty game. Game 2, I got there with them at 18. They had a triple daisy draw, and they were on the draw. I was on the play. So I had bad luck with uninkables that game as well, but still was barely able to get there. I had Big Sisu and Medusa in my opening hand after altars, which was just really tough. Game 3 was a game that I'm going to say, like, I 100% made a mistake, and I probably lost this game myself because I don't know what I was thinking, but I was on the draw. And I had the opportunity to. They went like they had a grid opener again. Where they had like Cindy into something. I think it was Cindy into Smee into Ariel. I didn't see Whole New World. I think when they Ariel they got a Zeus or something like that. And I had a brawl, and I did not brawl Ariel, which was a big mistake. I think I ended up foxing to take out a Cindy or something like that. But huge mistake. I had a Chernabog on board. I could have challenged a Cindy with a Chernabog, let that go. Brawled Ariel, and they would have been left with a Smee going into their turn 4, inking their 4th. And I remember, like, I totally was just like having a mental lapse where I don't know what I was thinking, but for some reason I thought I had like another turn, and I was gonna like get a fox on board, and then I was gonna brawl the next turn before they wheeled. But the wheel that they did like wasn't particularly amazing because they still had a pretty full hand. But after that, they were able to unload, and it was I got they spammed the board, and that was that. But that is 100% on me. I should have immediately brawled, even though I would have had nothing on board, and sending it back to them. That definitely was probably the better line to take. Match 18 was against Green Steel. I lost 0-2. This was a a match where I started to get tilted for sure because I just lost 2 matches in a row. Um, I had a very bad opener on game one. I had a 1 drop, but no 2 drop. They were playing an aggro version with like Calhoun and Merfolk and Pluto. I had tons of uninkables in my hand. There was a point where I had 2 rabbit, a genie, and B prep, and I was just bricking badly and couldn't play, and I lost. Game two, I admit that I'm not entirely sure how to play this match exactly, but it's shouldn't be anything different than old Green Steel. Like brawl Diablo when I can, play to the board, try not to, and they weren't playing a ton of discard. Like I think I saw 1 Sudden Chill, but I didn't see Hypnotize or Prince John or anything like that. They were playing Go-Go as well, but this was another hand where it's like I ended up top decking like a Broom at a bad spot where I needed some sort of gas when we were at parity. And to be fair, like again, I'm not gonna blame things on luck, but they had like triple Diablo, triple Calhoun, that double Storm strength. Like they had plenty of gas and 3 Diablos and just like I handled many, but like they had 3 over the course of the game, so lost. Match 19 against Ruby Sapphire. This was a 0-2 loss for me again. And this was, I kind of got just run by Ruby Sapphire game one, where they had the pop sail into Hiram. I had a Flynn into a crab, but they were able to play Tala, so I think I got 1 trigger off the Flynn, but it didn't get, wasn't enough. I ended up getting to 19 in that game in game one, and just got lost to Pirate's Life, knocking me down. On the play on game two, this was a game that was frustrating because again I had like thought I had turned the corner, was getting there, was like on the verge to winning, and they had a crazy turn where they were able to like they dimed a big Sisu, played a Maui Shark, played a Vision into a Pirate's Life, but they basically got like I think it was like 8 or 9 lore in a single turn with the Pirate's Life, where it's like when they pass back, it's like I had to win the next game or the next turn. So just tough, like but hand it to them. Like they had what they needed and so forth. It's just that's the way it goes sometimes. Match 20 for the 5th loss in a row. This was against Ruby Amethyst. I'm on the draw game one. They drew all 4 of their 3-cost Sisus. Nothing special. They just had gas into gas into gas into gas, like just plenty of pressure. So I was on the back foot the whole time and just couldn't get there, and they won. Game two, this was another game that was tough, uninkable wise. By turn 2, I had 8-cost Elsa and 8-cost Sisu and a Tremaine in my hand, 2 genies, and I was done at that point. Again, I couldn't ink on my 3rd turn. For my 3rd ink, I ended up having I had to ink a Fox and play nothing. And yeah, at that point it was 2 genie, Elsa, Sisu, Tremaine all in my hand. And they went 1-drop into Flynn, into Sisu, into Genie. So it's like they had exactly their perfect line, and I had a horrible bricking on uninkables. So and it was funny as the game went on, it's like I was trying to come back, and I couldn't even hit my 7th ink to be prep because of how badly I was getting screwed on uninkables. Even with like playing genies and playing rabbits and drawing cards, it was insane. So call it bad luck, call it whatever, but that's just gonna happen. So I got to swallow that and move on. So, but that's the kind of the story of those matches. So just real quick over the first 20 matches. So 11-9 again, started off 11-4 and just had that bad streak at the end. Just some things to note. 7 of the 20 matches against Amber Steel decks went really well. 6-1, against these decks based largely on the crab into 1-drops and foxes and Elsa, Maui. It's like all these cards are what's winning me those games for sure. Ruby Sapphire, 4 matches of the 20. Not a big representation, but 1-3. Like I'm not doing good against Ruby Sapphire. Is it a build change I need to make? Is it do I just need to get better at playing that deck? As you can see from those matches I experienced, like I've been having very close games. Like I'm almost right there. It's like maybe it's some bad luck, maybe it's some very subtle gameplay things where it's like if I miss a lore here or there, that's what's causing me to lose. So it's just kind of tough. But otherwise, it's like 1-1 against Ruby Amethyst, 1-1 against Purple Steel Aggro. We went over the loss of that match and how that was kind of tough. Not much else going on. 1 loss to Blurple. So it's interesting to look through these and kind of decide, try to make assumptions, or not assumptions, but draw some conclusions and observations from these matches. So just observations. So addressing the losses. So Ruby Sapphire 1-3 against Ruby Sapphire. So I got to think about this because this is a problem to go 1-3. This is a matchup where many Ruby Amethyst players I see think that this is like a 50-50 match. Like, and if anything, can be favored for Ruby Amethyst. Big thing for me is this shark stall out thing. Like early Maui shark coming down in turn 4 or 5. What most people are doing, and what I'm doing, of course, is shark happens. Okay, you stop questing. Now, what happens during the time that you're not questing is that, from my perspective, is they get to play a visions, find a card, play a Tala, grab a card, play another how far I'll go. In like the 1 or 2 turns that you're not questing and the shark is sitting there, that they are finding the second shark, they're finding a B prep, they're finding a dragon, they're playing a Hiram and drawing some more cards, they're ramping to get further ahead on ink. Like the stall out of those 1 to 2 turns and sometimes more is 100% where these matches are being lost, I feel. So is this a deck building thing or is this a line of play thing? I don't know which one to approach first, and should probably approach both, but I feel as though if there was a way for me to answer that first shark in some way, I don't know how to do that entirely, but if I could stop that first shark after they've ramped to it and they're down to 2, 3 cards in hand, I feel like that's a way that should be able to win more games. Sitting back and letting the shark stall things out is where these games are getting lost in the experience that I've had so far. So I feel like that has to be addressed in some way. Deck building thing could be like, possibly playing with the Dragonfire, possibly playing with Bee King Undisputed, something to kind of point and click kill the shark. Maybe that's a way that needs to needs to be explored. Now, line of play wise, I'm thinking, okay, do I need to be okay with sending something in with like 3 power to let the shark banish, let them get back, hopefully like maybe just a brawl or maybe just a sail, or I mean brawl is pretty decent, and sail's decent, but letting them get something that isn't Pirate's Life or How Far I'll Go ideally, but maybe I let them eat something to get a card back so that I'm able to on turn 5 like put an Elsa down and swing into the shark, take it out. I mean, this is terrible because it's essentially a 3-for-1, right? I let them kill 2 characters, I let them get back a card for their shark. Great value there, but maybe I need to suck it up and be like, okay, maybe I just need to let the shark do its thing as opposed to let it stall out for 2 turns, 3 turns, whatever, and let them build that advantage over time. Because at least I'm still questing, at least I'm still gaining lore. Because when I stop questing and I'm only at like 5 or 4, or if I'm not close to 10, like I'm not anywhere close to winning that game. So the stall out is 100% bad for me. So this needs to get addressed in some way. Underperformers. Big Sisu has not been cutting it for me, really. There's tons of 3-power characters out there. Even against like the Amber Steel decks, Amber Steel aggro is like Calhoun and Pete and Lawrence and just like Smee, like all these cards that don't get touched by Big Sisu. Amber Steel Songs is a little different, where there's like Cindy and Ursula and Ariel and all the 1-drop shift lines if they're playing Robin Hood or Queen or whatever. But against Amber Steel Songs, they're not going to let you have a 3-cost Sisu on the board. That's going to be the first thing that gets Strength or Zeused. So the shift line probably ain't happening. And if you're getting all the way to 8 ink and then you're playing Big Sisu, okay, fine, but they've usually either won the game by then or they've petered out and you've already won the game yourself. So Big Sisu, it's fine a lot of times. It's good against other matchups. But it always is like, it's either fine, this is okay, and it gets a thing or 2, or, there's plenty of times where it's just an 8-cost 5/4 that quests for 3, and that's not good enough for me. So I don't know about that card right now. Bell, yeah, cute but not reliable. I've talked about this card a lot. Sometimes it takes a lot to get this card set up properly, and when you do get it set up, it's like, okay, I get to take out something that's, take out a little guy, and it can be great in the Genie Elsa battles, but it seems more cute than reliable for me. Like, I usually ink it, and the times I end up just playing it out and not using the effect, it feels really mid, obviously, so not my favorite card right now. Expensive uninkables. As you can see from like the horror story of 5 losses in a row for me, I'm having ink problems. I'm having a lot of games where I'm getting stuck with, multiple 6, 7, 8 drop uninkables in my hand, and even getting glutted with some of the 4-drop uninkables that I'm not able to, or I end up having to ink my early plays just so I can get to those, just so I can hopefully draw into more inkables to play these other expensive uninkables. And this is just a problem. So I need to address this in some way. Overperformers, Flynn. When Flynn gets to do its thing versus Ruby Sapphire, that is the only reason why I'm winning those games, is the early lore from Flynn. Flynn has been good in plenty of games. Like anytime I'm getting a trigger or two off of Flynn, it feels fantastic. And even if I'm making them play to it and have to answer it, it's great. So polarizing card, I know, but it overperformed for me. Big Elsa, even though I complained about the uninkable thing, Big Elsa has been crazy. Like it is almost always good. It's won me games. At a minimum, it's adding lore pressure with some stall out where I almost get to like get a free swing in because I've stalled their board. This has been very good. And shifting it is happening sometimes, but just playing it when I get to 8 ink is almost like it's like a game-winning movement sometimes where I've stabilized, I'm starting to turn the corner, and then Big Elsa comes down and that shuts the door and the game's won. So I've really liked that card so far. But I don't know if I can do it with the way the uninkable things are working out. So just like the experience I've had against like aggro matches that I've been playing, I feel that these matches are highly dictated by our ability to interact on turn 3, 4, and then the state of the game going into turn 5, 6. And what I kind of mean is the games that I'm winning, like all these, being 6-1 against the Amber Steel decks right now, it is because I am going 1-drop, 2-drop that's not snake, like Flynn, or just multiple 1-drops into being able to crab something into challenge, fox something into challenging, and then as I'm getting into turn 5 or 6, when I'm able to enter my 5th turn and am able to Elsa and Maui, this is what's winning these games for sure. It's like if I'm able to have that early interaction on turn 3, 4 by crabbing or shark, or foxing, and then on 5 and 6 when I'm able to Elsa or Maui, and I've done both those things in a row with the backup of some 1-drops and maybe a Flynn on board or a 3-cost Sisu or whatever, that's how these games are getting won. All of this early gameplay is completely what's happening. The games that I'm losing and the matches I'm losing is because I haven't had early pressure, or I haven't had early characters on board. I only have like a snake and I have one thing on the board, and I have to fox back a snake to fox, and then I still only have one character that gets in. Like that is what's hurting me a lot. Because then at that point, that going into turn 5, 6, and even if I'm able to Elsa or Maui or whatever, if I only have one other character on the board, it's like, yeah, it's going to do something, but I'm still not pulling ahead. So I feel like I really need to lean into this early gameplay to make sure I have a board established into 3, 4, so that on turn 5, I'm playing my 3rd or even 4th character down that is shifting the tide. So that's just what I've seen so far when it comes to these aggro matchups. And the Ruby Sapphire matchup, we talked about, but this matchup is a problem. And the big hypothesis I have is like, okay, if I stop the first shark, can I win? Is that enough? If when they go shark, if I'm able to answer it via a Bee King Undisputed or a Dragonfire, or if I'm able to maybe try this line of like, I'm going to quest into it anyways and let them get a thing back, but then I'm killing it with Elsa and then I'm questing again and establishing a wider board before they get to B prep territory or something, is that going to be a way to win? So I got to address that. And then losing to my ink over these matches, especially during the 5-loss streak, really frustrating. But yeah, losing to my ink and losing to having a lack of early game at times, having to alter super hard for 1-drops and hoping to get a Flynn just to have a 2-cost character on board, or just to have a play on turn 2 that doesn't bounce back my play on turn 1. Like those are the frustrating things where I'm like, okay, I need to adjust something deck wise if I'm losing to my ink and losing to a lack of early game, despite what the opponent's playing. So all that said, here is what I'm going to run for the next round of 20 games. So I'm going up to 11 1-drops. I was playing 9 before. I'm adding 2 more Diablos. I want Diablo to be a card draw instead of playing something like an Olaf or a Moana or whatever. Those seem just way too narrow, really bad late game. So I'm going up on Diablos. I'm going to 11 1-drops to max that out. Adding the 4th Flynn. Flynn was an overperformer, and I want the early body, even if it's just there for a minute to challenge into something or whatever. But the ceiling on Flynn is so high, I want to play 4. Add in another crab. I really, again, want to invest in all this early game. If I'm playing 11 1-drops, I want the crab to be able to work with all these so I can get a wider board. Shaving in Elsa. Maui saying the same. I've shaved Tremaine as well. Tremaine, I like, but it's just too dang slow right now. It is too slow. If I'm playing it on turn 6 and taking out one thing, it's just not making a big enough impact for me right now. I'm keeping the Tremaines because I want these against Ruby Sapphire, even though they come down a little later. Brawls are the same. I'm adding a Dragonfire. I'm adding a Bee King Undisputed, a 1-1 split. I want to try these to see if they're helpful against Ruby Sapphire. I know playing a 1-1 isn't like I'm going to draw it every game to be reliable, so we'll see how it goes from a testing standpoint. Still sticking with 3 Be Prepared. Those are obviously good to wipe the board as well against Ruby Sapphire, but I want to see if I can like have some turns where I'm able to like brawl a T-pose, sing Bee King to hit the shark, or if I'm on the play and they get shark on turn 4 and then going into my turn 5, I'm able to like Dragonfire Shark Quest. Like, I know it's anti-tempo to play a Dragonfire, but what I'm hoping is that like even if I'm tapping out to Dragonfire, the fact that I'm not just doing nothing, no questing and passing back, even if I'm developing the board a little bit, for me it's like, yeah, I'm tapping out for Dragonfire, but I'm also being able to quest with my whole board and get another 4-5 lore, hopefully. So that's where I think there's going to be value to be found in that card, is being able to hit first shark and swing for 4-5 lore, ideally, if I've built a wider board. Bee King's going to be similar. It's like, if I'm able to Bee King a first big, shark or whatever and swing for another 4, I'm trying to avoid the shark stall out really badly. So I know Shaving and Elsa is kind of contrary to what I was saying about, okay, maybe I need to let it swing and hit something and then Elsa it back, but I don't really want to do that. It's 3 for 1. I really want to just try to mull 4 and get lucky to be able to Bee King profitably, Dragonfire profitably, and just get to a better place. So adding the Flynn, adding the Bee King and the Dragonfire to experiment against Ruby Sapphire, since that's clearly the worst luck I've had. Adding some 1-drops. Oh, I should also say, there is only 13 uninkables now. There was 15 before, which wasn't terrible, but now down to 13 to hopefully, not have as many ink problems. So we'll see what changes next. Tremaine I'm keeping for now, but we'll see. Be Prep, one of the most powerful cards in the game. I really don't want to feel like I keep being pulled to like shave this card and go bigger on earlier stuff, but I know that that's wrong, so I'm not going to do that. Might want to think about adding a 4th Genie or even a 4th Rabbit, honestly. Not both, of course, but like maybe going up to 7 of the Genie Rabbit split could be good. So a lot of things to come, a lot of changes to think about, but for this next round of 20 games, we're going a little leaner, we're going slower, or a little faster. So, we're calling this fast fundamentals instead of the big fundamentals. So again, 11 1-drops up from 9, going up to a 3rd crab. We're adding some earlier interaction with removal with Bee King and Dragonfire. And we're just going to try to not miss inks, not have ink problems, and try to have some better answers for Ruby Sapphire. So that's what I got for now. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for the support. Please tell me what I'm doing wrong in the Ruby Sapphire matchup. I would love to hear more comments or interaction or anything. I'm trying to get better just like y'all. So thank you guys so much. And yeah, we'll see you in another 10 matches. Thanks.